Well, you can see my whiteboard, right? So, I was telling that we'll learn that principle of inclusion and exclusion today. So before that, just I want to tell you about that multinomial theorem, right? You know about this binomial theorem. Okay, so this multinomial theorem also, you know, this is not new for you anyway. So that you know about this binomial theorem, you recall that binomial theorem, this is not new for you anyway. That well, that you can write this binomial theorem for any positive integer n. You know this a plus b whole to the power n. You know this formula, right? That summation, say I'll take k equal to 0 to n. This is not new for you anyway. N choose k, and that a to the power, you'll take k, and b to the power n minus k. So this is how you write down this multinomial theorem. Sorry, binomial theorem. So now we'll talk a multinomial theorem. So in this multinomial theorem, I mean, instead of these two variables, I mean that a and b, we can have m number of, m number of.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Huh, huh.
We just joined the class. Could you please tell us again what is the
Okay,
start?
yeah. I was telling that, uh, I mean, we'll see this multinomial theorem. So multinomial theorem is actually generalization of binomial theorem, and binomial theorem is known to you. And this is what the binomial theorem. In this case, we take two numbers or two parameter. You can say that a and b. So this is binomial theorem, right? All of you know this. So what will be multinomial theorem? I mean generalization of this. This is, in fact, not new for you. You must have done at least see this x plus y plus z, say whole to the power, say I mean 4, say kind of thing. So this type of, that expression we have seen earlier, and you know what it will be. So in general, this multinomial theorem, uh, in this case, the multinomial theorem, instead of these, two or three parameters, that x, y, z, we can have any finite number of these parameters. So, multinomial theorem, it is like this. Here we take that n be a positive integer. Let n be a positive integer. Positive integer. Then for this all x1, x2, xm, we have this expression that x1 plus x2 plus xm whole to the power n is equal to, what do you get? Some of you might have seen this. Do any of you know?
Yes, ma'am. It is n factorial upon
Yeah, first of all, the coefficient. Okay. N factorial.
n upon a1 factorial, a2 factorial till am factorial, where a1,
Okay.
a2,
Okay.
ai is the
We'll
power
use
of
this
x.
notation, N1 factorial.
Yeah,
Hmm.
sure.
Okay, no problem. N2 factorial and Nm. M number of these xi's are there. X1, x2 to xm. So nm factorial, and here this x1 to the power n1, x2 to the power n2, and xm to the power nm, and this n1, n2, nm, they satisfy that where actually this sum, in fact, this sum is over what? This summation we are taking, that is over what? So in binomial theorem, this summation we are taking from k equal to 0 to n. So here this summation will be over all the non-negative integral solutions, this n1, n2 to nm. So let me write this and then I'll explain you. So where the sum is over all non-negative integral solutions, non-negative integral solutions of solutions. I mean the solutions are these actually, that n1, n2, nm. This is a solution of, I mean this equation that well here the okay variable, what I'll write say, I mean okay the solution you understand that okay, let me write the same thing, n1, n2, nm, or I want to say that this n1, n2 to nm satisfy this equation that sum of n1, n2 up to nm is equal to n. Okay, so this is this n sum will, I mean this sum will be over all integral solutions of this equation. Okay, summation of ni is equal to n. So this multinomial theorem, I mean how do you get this proof? How can you proceed about a proof? How should we prove it? Can anyone tell?
What we can like if I remember correctly, the proof goes on like we bracket all the like x2 to xm in one variable and then change it to the form of a plus b raised to the power n, and then that b, that is the summation of x2 to till xm, then we again open it up to reach here like n factorial.
Yeah, something I mean it goes like this. See, one easy way is like this, we have seen earlier. So this left hand side actually, just quickly I am giving a I mean hint of the proof of this, I mean you know anyway. So that outline of this proof, you can go like this. Just I'm giving an outline kind of thing. So this left hand side we write this is product of, I mean x1, x2 up to xm. Then I mean n number of such factors will be there in this product, x1, x2, xm up to this n factors, x1, x2, xm. Here I mean these are n factors actually, n factors are there. So when you consider this product, so in this product actually what we are doing, so when we are, I mean looking this power, when do you get this power of x1 is equal to say n1? I mean out of, you are having n number of factors, so x1 will come out of this n, you are choosing x1 from n1 number of factors. x1 you are selecting from n1 number of factors from here. So, or in other words, we are selecting this x1 in n choose n1 ways actually. So, out of n number of these factors, we are selecting n1. So, this is how you get x1. So, then this for this x2, n2, how do you select? This you select out of this n minus n1. I mean n1, from n1 factors we have already selected x1. So from the remaining n minus n1 factors we will select x2, that is n2 ways. So this is how actually we go on selecting this, I mean xm, and this is nm. So that we will select by this n minus n1 minus like this up to nm minus 1, choose nm. Okay, this is how. And you know the product. So therefore, this I mean product x1 n1, x2 n2, xm nm, that will select taking this product actually. And you know the value of this product, what do you get? That n minus n1 minus nm minus 1, choose this nm, and you know the value of this product. It comes out to be the, I mean earlier we have seen that it comes out to be n factorial divided by n1 factorial and n factorial, right? So this is one way that you can verify this multinomial theorem. We get in this way. Well, we'll need this multinomial theorem, I mean, sometime. So that is why I have explained here. So the next I'll give another general theorem actually that will also be needed afterwards. So that is this theorem is Newton's binomial theorem. This is another generalization of Newton. I mean, this is Newton's binomial theorem. Newton's binomial theorem, and this theorem was given by Newton in 1600 something. Okay, that thing. Okay, that I mean that you, I mean, okay, you can see this when this was given, but here Newton had generalized this theorem, a binomial theorem. In how he had generalized this binomial theorem, what was the generalization? So in the binomial theorem, I mean this n we consider that a plus b or x plus y whole to the power n that we are considering in case of binomial theorem. This n was a positive integer. So this n was integer. This was the key thing in binomial theorem. Okay, in binomial theorem this n was integer, but in Newton's binomial theorem he generalized that this n need not be integer. N can be taken any real number. N can be taken any real number. So for any real number, I mean the Newton given a result or given a expansion of this x plus y whole to the power n, and is any integer. Well, so let us take this to be any real number. So let alpha be any real number. Alpha be a real number. So this may be fraction, negative, positive, anything. This alpha is any real number. Then for all real, or I mean this x and y we take, that you may take x and y may be real or I mean complex type of thing. So then for all x, y with this condition, of course, with a condition is that this modulus of x is less than modulus of y. It should satisfy this condition, and x may be 0 also. I mean this I mean x may be I mean, in case of x is equal to 0, you get this absolute value of x is equal to 0. So therefore, we write this modulus of x is anyway it is greater than 0, but it may be equal to 0. So that is why we are writing this as greater than or equal to 0. So one gets this, I mean, value of x plus y whole to the power alpha. This we get actually, Newton is given in terms of an infinite series. One gets an infinite series, alpha choose k and x to the power k, y to the power alpha minus k, and k is of course from 0 to infinity. K is from 0 to infinity. K is integer, and this alpha choose k. What is the meaning of alpha choose k? Because alpha is a real number, any real number. So therefore we have to tell what is this alpha choose k. So alpha choose k. So this is actually we will take in this way, that alpha into alpha minus 1, alpha minus 2, like alpha minus k plus 1 divided by k factorial. So this alpha choose k we shall define in this manner. Alpha choose k we shall define in this manner. So this is well defined, right, for any real number alpha. So this, this number you will able to find out. This you can determine. This is well defined, right? So this is how this alpha choose k is determined. So I will not give a proof of this. Just I'll give the statement. If you are interested, you can search and know that why. How do you get this expansion or this expression x plus y whole to the power alpha be like this? And we'll use. I'll again come back to this afterwards. After a few lectures, but. Before that, mainly we are interested on this pigeonhole principle. So today we'll discuss that pigeonhole principle. Newton's binomial theorem again we'll revisit actually, maybe next lecture. So this principle of inclusion and exclusion. What is this principle of inclusion and exclusion? Principle of inclusion and exclusion. Principle of inclusion and exclusion. So what is this principle of inclusion and exclusion? Well, so here what we consider is that suppose you are having a set S. Suppose you are having a set S. Set. Here S is a set, and we are having suppose some properties. Some properties. Let us say P1, P2 to Pm. M number of set properties. M number of, these are some properties are there. Okay, these are some properties. P1, P2 to Pm. So and also we take this that AI be subset of AI be subset of S. AI is a subset of S such that elements in AI satisfy property Pi, or AI is this set of all elements in S which satisfy property Pi. So this is the set of AI is the set of all elements in S which satisfy property P. Property, say Pi, sorry, Pi. I from 1 to m. Okay, so here I will be 1 to m. Well, so this where is the cursor?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
How are you defining set S? Like set S, each element of set S have all the properties, na? P1, P2, Pm, all the properties. So why
No.
include set?
No. Not all the. I mean, P1, P2, Pm are some properties defined on this set S. Properties.
Defined on the set S means each element will satisfy, na? I'm in doubt of that. Like each element will satisfy all these 1 to m properties.
Yeah. Here I is from 1 to m. That's what I want to write. So this AI may be empty set also. That none of the elements in set I will satisfy property Pi. AI may be an empty set also if no elements in S satisfying property P. See, you are set of all. I mean, in your class, you take all the students as set S. Set S is the set of you all students. And I am having some properties. Say P1, I'll say that P1 is that property that plays football. P2 is say plays hockey. P3 is a singer. P3 is property singer. P4 is dancer. Okay, like this I am having some property. So then among you all students, so students who are playing football will be in set A1. A1 will be the set of you, all students who play football. Right? Do you understand?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am, got it.
and so there is no student who is playing hockey in your class. Then A2 will be empty set. No student is playing hockey. So A2 will be empty set. Do you understand? It is clear to you? Okay, P1, P2, Pm, some properties I am taking. Okay, so properties can be anything. And set AI always we can define. If no or none of the elements in S satisfying property Pi, then AI will be empty set. Okay. It is clear to you, students? It is fine. Tell me, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good, very good. Well, so the principle here I'll write, this is a general one, I'm writing in more general form, and I'll tell you afterwards that a particular case or corollary of this, that we may obtain as a corollary that people think some book you will find that as principle of inclusion and exclusion. Okay, so let us see this principle of inclusion and exclusion. Here this S and this P1, P2, PM and A1, A2, AM will take these notations will use. The notations will be same here in this theorem. So this principle and principle of inclusion and exclusion is like this. Okay, before that just I'll tell you one notation. So what does this mean? I'll take this is complement. AI complement. Okay. What does this mean? This AI complement? What does this mean? This AI complement? This is complement of AI. This notation I'll use for complement. Complement of AI is this. AI bar, I'll use this notation, and this is this set of all elements in S which will not satisfy property Pi. Okay. Is the set of all elements in S which do not satisfy property Pi. Okay, which do not satisfy property Pi. So this is what this complement of AI. So in this theorem actually it gives the result that, I mean, let me write down, then you'll be able to understand what I am saying. So here it says the number of elements, in S number of elements in S which do not satisfy any of the properties, which do not satisfy any of the properties P1, P2, Pn. So here it is giving the number of elements in S which will not satisfy any of these properties. That is, what is that number? Is given by, so elements which will not satisfy any of these properties, we can write in set notation A1 complement intersection A2 complement intersection AM complement. So its absolute value. So this is what the number of elements in S which will not satisfy any of the properties P1, P2, Pn. So this number we can get in terms of this, first of all, this cardinality of S. S we are taking a finite set. S we are taking a finite set. Okay. S is a finite set. So cardinality of S minus this summation of cardinality of AI. Okay. So, and here I will be from 1 to M. Then we will take plus. First we are including, then we are excluding, then we'll include actually. Alternately this addition, subtraction. So that is why it is called principle of inclusion and exclusion. First we are including, then excluding, then we'll include, then exclude, like this. It will be like this. So plus this sum of AI intersection AJ, its cardinality, and sum of all these AI AJ actually. AI AJ, I not equal to J, here I not equal to J, and we are looking into all possible, pairs, such pairs actually, I from 1 to M, all such pairs. So like this, next we'll include. What do we include? Who can guess? Oh, yeah, exclude. This was included, then exclude, then minus. What will subtract?
Three at a time.
Three at a time. Yes. AI intersection AJ intersection here AK. Okay. Yeah, not this. Its cardinality. Its cardinality. We'll take the cardinality of this set. Okay, we'll take the cardinality of this set. And this cardinality will be over all this I, J, K, they are different. They are different. I, J, K, they are different. And we are selecting from 1 to M kind, all possible, this triplet I, J, K. So it goes like this, plus minus 1 whole to the power M, and intersection of this A1, A2, up to this intersection of AM, right? So this is what the principle of inclusion and exclusion. So this is called, the principle of inclusion and exclusion. And then what about the proof here? So you understand this sum, no? This is sum over all possible pairs that Ij. This is all possible triplet. Okay, fine. Okay, I can give a proof of this quickly also. Why is this true? Why is this true? Well, so that I'll give a simple proof. We can go, we shall have a proof in this way. I'll first of all, you consider an arbitrary element X from the set SC. Huh? So then what we shall prove is that, suppose, look, X we are taking from the set S. Then if X will not satisfy any of the properties P1, P2 to Pm. If X will not satisfy any of the properties P1, P2 to Pm, then this element X will contribute 1 to left hand side. Understand? So let me write. So if X does not satisfy any of the properties P1 to Pm, then X contributes, then X contributes 1 to left hand side. Okay, it is clear to you? And if X will satisfy at least one of the properties, then X will contribute 0, right? And if X satisfies at least one property, then X contributes 0 to LHS. Do you agree with this? It is fine?
Yes,
Clear
ma'am.
to you? Okay, fine. So we are taking an arbitrary element in X actually, and X in S, and this will, true for all the elements. Fine. So if we show that the same property will also hold true for the right hand side, this is one way of proving. So for this element X, we have whatever property holds true for left hand side, if exactly same properties, same thing will also hold for the right hand side, then both the sides are equal. This is another way of proving, a nice way of proving. So these two, statements that we have written, if X will satisfy, will not satisfy any of the properties, and X will satisfy at least one property, then what it is contributing to left hand side. So exactly same thing holds true for right hand side also. Then left hand side is equal to right hand side. That is how we will prove this. So then next, let us consider the right hand side. Well, so if X does not satisfy any of the properties P1, P2 to Pm, then how much this X will contribute to right hand side? Okay, so if X does not satisfy any of these properties P1, P2 to Pm, then X contributes how much to right hand side. X contributes how much to right hand side. Look at the expression in the right hand side. Of course, it will contribute 1 to this first term. Here we are counting this cardinality of x. We are taking the cardinality of x. So x contributes 1 to this cardinality of x. And x will not satisfy any of the property, means x cannot be in any of these sets a1, a2 to am. Right? So therefore, all other terms here will be equal to 0. Understand? X will not be in any of these ai. So therefore, all these terms, all these numbers will be 0. So only you will get this, that x will contribute 1. Okay, it is clear to you. Then x contributes 1 to RHS, all the RHS. Why? Because x is there in the set S, that is why it will contribute 1 to the first term, and this x is not there in ai for all I from 1 to m. So therefore x contributes 1 to right hand side. It is clear to you? Okay. So then next we'll see that x satisfies at least one property. Okay, at least one property. X satisfies at least one property. Next, let x satisfies at least one property. Satisfies at least one, but say k number of properties. Okay, satisfies at least one. At least one means that I'll say exactly k number. Say k number. Okay, k number of properties. K number of properties. Okay, it satisfies k number of properties. I mean k is greater than or equal to 1. That's what we want to say. Okay, so if x satisfies at least one of the properties, then what we will get? Suppose okay, well, so if it satisfies k number of properties we have taken, so x contributes 1 to, just you calculate that that x contributes 1 or 0 to which terms? You tell me. So x contributes 1 to, x here contributes 1 to first term, that is cardinality of S. Then what happened, that for the second term, that x contributes how much to the second term? Second term, that is how much it will contribute? K, right? Okay, this
no, ma'am,
yeah.
K minus
okay.
1.
K minus 1. Okay, that is negative. Okay, that is negative. The minus sign is there. Okay, alternately you are saying. Okay, no problem. I mean, we are saying in terms of this 0 or 1, I mean positive number, how much it will contribute. Second term, it will, when we'll write, you will include this sign. So k choose 1 to this second term. I mean this sum of, okay, this summation ai, I'll write this summation ai. It will, I'll take this sign afterwards. Similarly, x contributes to how much to this sum ai intersection aj? How much? I mean, it will contribute So out of K, I mean out of this K, whenever you are selecting 2, okay, out of this K properties, if you are selecting 2, I mean suppose K satisfies this K, I mean sorry, X satisfies the properties P1, P2 to Pk, say K number of properties. So out of this K properties, if you will select 2, then it will contribute 1. Okay. So in other words, it will contribute how many such pairs will get? K choose 2. Okay. Contributes to this one, this second term. Like this, it goes on. Up to how far you can go? Up to you
Ma'am,
can
please
go.
repeat this step.
Yeah. Tell me which one, which step? This.
K choose 1 or K choose 2. Both of
Oh,
them.
okay. K choose 1. Okay. Sorry, X satisfies K number of properties. X satisfies K number of properties, say P1, P2 to Pk. So in that case, well, this, okay, let me write down here. Say, for example, where is the cursor? In this case, suppose X satisfies the properties P1, P2 to Pk. So in that case, X will be in say A1. Also that AK, if it satisfies the properties P1, P2 to Pi. X is satisfying properties, say, I mean if X satisfies P1 to Pk, K number of properties, then this is what you are getting. Fine. And if X belongs to A1, X belongs to A1 means this cardinality of A1, I mean X will contribute 1 to cardinality of this A1. X contributes 1 to this cardinality of A1. X is only one element here. So similarly, X will contribute 1 for this cardinality of AK. Okay. Understand? And for all others,
Yes, ma'am.
AI, for all others AI, this X will contribute 0. X is not there in any other sets, right? So therefore, altogether X contributes K choose 1. I'm K, that is K choose 1 I'm writing. Okay.
Yes.
K to the summation of AI. Then for this pair, when you'll take, I mean if X belongs to both AI and AJ, belongs to both AI and AJ, then X will contribute 1 to this cardinality, otherwise not. So out of this A1, A2 to AK, if you select any pair from A1, A2 to AK, then X will contribute 1 to that absolute value of that intersection of those two. So therefore, K choose 2, it will contribute K choose 2 to this sum. It is clear? Okay, now you understand. Fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
So then how far you can go? Tell me. How far we can go? That X contributes, I mean, to up to what sum we can go? Up to this, I mean, intersection of, okay, A1.
K terms.
Up to K terms, exactly, K of this. Okay, so let me write this one as I1, I2 for our notation. Intersection AIK. Up to this we can go, up to K actually. Okay, up to this K, it can go, right? And this, how many ways? It will contribute K choose K. It will go like this. K choose K to this one. So then now you count the total, how much this X is contributing in this case. So in this case, X contributes to RHS is X contribution of X to RHS. Contribution of X to X. This is X to RHS is, how much it is contributing? Tell me. That 1, that is to first term, second term is your negative, K choose 1, third term is positive, K choose 2. Like this it goes on -1 whole to the power k, K choose k. This is what the total contribution of x to right hand side. Okay, so how much you are getting here? How much you are getting? This, what is the sum?
1
Zero.
minus
This is 0. Yes, this sum is equal to 0. 1 minus 1 whole to the power k. So this is equal to 0. And therefore, x is contributing 0 to RHS. So the same properties are holding true in left hand side and right hand side for any element x. Therefore, the left hand side is equal to right hand side. Okay, this is one technique actually. Nice technique of proving something. Okay, so hence, I mean, we get this RHS equal LHS equal to RHS. Okay. Well, so applying this pigeonhole principle, I have told you that we can solve that problem you see. Okay, quickly I'll give one more example, say, and then we'll go to. Well, before that I was telling, okay, I have missed one corollary of this theorem. So this one corollary, where is the cursor, okay, corollary. One corollary we'll see quickly of this theorem. Actually, it says that the number of elements in S which have number of elements in S which have at least one of the properties, at least one of the properties P1, P2 to Pn, P1, P2 to Pn is, how can you write in set form? That A1 union A1 and union A2 union AM is cardinality, right? So here elements in S which have at least one property, okay, which satisfy at least one property, means in set theoretic notation we'll have this is cardinality of union of this A1 A2 to AM. So this, you know, of course, its value, you know that first you take sum of cardinality of this AI, I from 1 to k, and then you'll subtract this intersection of AI, AJ, this pairwise actually. Okay, again this pairwise. Over this I not equal to j, all I this 1 to m. And next you will again, I mean, include this one, that AI intersection AJ intersection AK, its cardinality. Okay, and it goes like this, how far, that plus minus 1 whole to the power here m plus 1. Okay, m plus 1 and cardinality of A1 intersection A2 intersection AM. So this is what we get the cardinality. You know this actually for at least for two sets. When m is equal to 2, you do use quite often, up to 3 also we have, you know that. Huh? Well, so this is in general we can have like this. And some book actually people do refer this as principle of inclusion exclusion, this corollary, what we have written. I'll tell you that how to prove this, how to get this corollary. In some book people do refer this corollary as principle of inclusion and exclusion, but we'll refer the theorem that I have given, the one I have given, that we shall refer as principle of inclusion and exclusion. Well, how to get a proof of this? So the proof of this, I have told you, this is corollary of the previous theorem, that principle of inclusion and exclusion. So we'll use that and obtain this result in this corollary. Okay, so it is very easy to get now. So you know that, I mean, we know this one, that cardinality of this A1 in, I mean, union A2 union this AM, its cardinality is equal to, I can take this cardinality of S minus cardinality of the complement of this set whole, I mean A1 union A2 union AM, I mean its complement, I'll take whole complement I am taking, whole complement I am taking, and its cardinality, whether it is true that cardinality of S minus cardinality of complement of this set we are considering in the left hand side, right? So now what I shall do is the following, I shall use De Morgan's law. So by De Morgan's law, you know that the complement of this union of these sets A1 union A2 union AM, complement of the union of these sets is equal to intersection of the complement of these sets. A1 complement intersection A2 complement intersection AM complement, right? So this is what we get by De Morgan's law. So now you substitute this result and then apply, I mean the principle of inclusion and exclusion. So now what do you get? This A1 union A2, if we substitute, I mean use this De Morgan's law over here, then cardinality of S minus cardinality of A1 complement A2 complement and intersection of AM complement its absolute value, right? So now you substitute the value of this cardinality of A1 complement intersection, this thing from that pigeonhole principle, and get the result. Okay, so now you substitute the value of this, apply this pigeonhole principle to this. Okay, now you apply, sorry, principle of inclusion, not pigeonhole. Apply principle of inclusion and exclusion. Principle of inclusion and exclusion. And you will get the result. Will you get the result now? What we have written, whether you will get from this? Okay, hope you will able to do this. Substitute that you have got the result in principle of inclusion exclusion and then get it. Fine. Okay, so then quickly, any doubt?
Ma'am, so can we directly write like by principle of inclusion and exclusion, A1 union A2 till AM is equal to a sigma A1 minus sigma.
Okay, you will say that by I mean by that pigeonhole principle you will get this result, directly.
No. I'm saying that I'm saying that by directly like while solving a question, can we directly write it like by principle of inclusion and exclusion, A1 union A2, like till the end is equals to sigma.
Okay, you can write. You can write because in some book, no, they do refer this corollary as also principle of inclusion and exclusion. I was telling that in some book they do refer. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, today no time left, so I will not able to explain the other problem, that R combination when the repetition numbers are finite. Okay, I that I had told you earlier. No, just remember that R combination of a multi-set when the repetition numbers n1, n2 to nk are finite. So for that we are not getting a clear-cut formula. When the repetition numbers were infinity, we are having a formula for that, for the R combinations. But for the R combination, when these repetition numbers are finite, I had told you that we can use principle of inclusion exclusion and get an answer of that. The number of R combinations we can count. So I was wanted to explain that. So maybe, I mean, now we don't have enough time. Next tomorrow I shall explain, but quickly I'll give you another small example here, how to apply this principle of inclusion and exclusion. Suppose this example you look, that find the number of integers between 1 and 1000. These are inclusive. Inclusive. These numbers are included. That numbers that are not divisible by, okay, divisible by 5, 6 and 8. That are not divisible by 5, 6 and 8. Not divisible by these three numbers. Okay. So using this principle of inclusion and exclusion, you can work out. So what we can take is this property. You are having three properties. So P1 is divisible by 5. You can define the properties like this. Numbers divisible by 5. P2 divisible by 6. This property divisible by 6, and P3 divisible by 8. Divisible by 8. Right. Similarly, the corresponding sets you will take A1, A2, A3. Okay. A1 means set of numbers which satisfy property P1. Means set divisible by 5. Okay. Understand this A1, A2, A3. This sets will take. Okay. So now, and also you know that this A1 intersection A2 means what? Okay. A1 intersection A2 means, okay, we will come to that. First, let us see that what will be the cardinality of A1. Cardinality of A1, set of that you can find out all integers from 1 to 1000 which are divisible by 5. So what do you get this one? 1000 divided by 5, and you take its integral value. Okay, greatest integer function. So that is what you will get. And similarly, this A2, cardinality of A2, you will get 1000 divided by 6, its greatest integer, that you will get 166. Quickly, just I am telling. It is already time. You students might be having, oh, okay, you don't have any class after this lunch break. Okay. So let me quickly finish it up. A2 is this. It is clear to you. Tell me that A3 of cardinality of A3 divided by 8. So greatest integer of this number 125. Okay. So what will be this cardinality of A1 intersection A2? What does this mean? I mean this set, this intersection. This this is this set of numbers, all the numbers which are divisible by both 5 and 6. So divisible by both 5 and 6 means divisible by their LCM. Okay. So this is, first let me write down this set actually. What is this set? This is the set of all elements which are divisible by LCM of this LCM of this 5 and 6. LCM of 5 and 6, right? So that is 30 only. Okay. So therefore, I mean, you get cardinality of A1 intersection A2, that you will get 1000 divided by 30, its greatest integer you will take, and what do you get? This 33. Okay. Similarly, cardinality of this A1, uh, okay, A2 intersection A3, say. A2 intersection A3. A2 intersection A3, its cardinality, A2 and A3 means LCM of 6 and 8. Okay, LCM of 6 and 8. So then you will get 24. 24. Okay, its cardinality. So here you are getting this A2. Yeah, that you will get A2. Okay, what do you get? This number is one. Okay, A1,
41.
A2 is this. 41 you'll get, yes. A2 and A3, you'll get 41. Fine. You'll get 41. Similarly, you define this. Now you'll able to find out the other numbers. We are applying the principle of inclusion and exclusion. That is why I am considering this way. So this is 1000 and this LCM of 5 and 8. So this is 40, and you are getting 25. And finally, you will get this cardinality of A1 intersection A2 intersection A3. Its cardinality you will get is that LCM of these three numbers.
1000 divided by 120.
120. Yes.
8.
Yeah. You are getting 8. Okay. So now all these numbers we have determined, and we'll apply this principle of inclusion and exclusion and get your answer. So by principle of inclusion and by this principle of inclusion and exclusion, we get this answer is, okay, now you have to substitute all these numbers. A1 a complement intersection A2 complement intersection A3 complement. Okay, so first you are having this total number of elements, cardinality of S. Okay, 1000. Okay, and minus those cardinality in singleton. Okay, that 200, you are having these numbers. That 200 plus 100, this is how you determine, plus 125. Okay, okay, then we'll take this sum. Alternately, you will be taking the pairs. Okay, now for the pairs, what are those numbers here? You are having that 33, these numbers you see, and then 41 plus 25, and then minus, you are having 8. Okay, check this number, how much you are getting. Whether you are getting 600, verify. You verify this. Okay, okay. Yes, this is how we can apply pigeonhole principle. So tomorrow we shall principle of inclusion and exclusion. So tomorrow we shall apply this principle of inclusion and exclusion and find out total number of R combination of a multiset in which these numbers, repetition numbers, are finite. Okay, through one example I'll explain. Well, that's all for today. Any query on today's lecture? Yeah, okay, I want to tell you one thing. So you are having this examination windows, no, that week next month, September 6th to 10th, right? Okay, so I'll declare that when I can conduct a test for you within that week, 6 to 10, September 6th to 10th. 10th is Friday, so I'll prefer that Friday because that 2 hours lectures are there, 9 to 11. So Friday, that is 10th September, I'll take a test for you. because we'll get time. 2 hours means we'll get enough time for the test. If anything wrong goes, and all, we'll have plenty of time. Okay. So 10th September, I'll conduct a test for you. In the meantime, I mean, try solving some problems from Grualdi, that book, and also I'll send you that problem set also. Okay.
Ma'am, what will be the like format of the test and the platform it will be on?
Format of the test will be say mainly fill in the blanks, because online no online evaluation and all. So therefore, mostly I'll give you fill in the blanks type and maybe MCQ. Okay.
Okay.
At
And
the most these
platform?
two types. Huh? Okay.
Like how the test would happen? Would it be on through a Google form or?
Moodle.
Okay.
Moodle. I'll take through Moodle only. All of you are having account in Moodle, right? Moodle account.
Like in the last semester, what happened was that we were provided a different ID password for every, like we had only one subject, but
That is where in Moodle.
yeah, in the Moodle, yes.
Moodle only, no?
Yes.
Again, will be provided. I'll talk to Moodle team. Okay. Don't worry, that I'll take care. I'll take care of that part.
Okay.
So
Thank
yeah. So I'll take through Moodle. Yeah. Okay, that's all for today. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Can you upload the lectures of last two classes, recordings of last two classes?
Acha, the board work I have sent, no, through ERP I have sent to you students. ERP, you should check na your IIT mail. Many students that ERP mail.
Ma'am, I'm
Many
asking about
students that do
recording.
check only their
Recording in
Gmail.
Teams.
Huh?
Ma'am,
I have
I'm
I have
asking
sent
about
through
recording.
ERP. Check
Okay,
your
ma'am.
that. Okay.